GJ Math.
Welcome to the first video on finance in the grade 12 chapter. So you've done financial math since grade 8, where you learned simple interest, and then grade 9 they added compound interest, and then you did a lot of sums, but it always stuck to those two formulas for simple and compound interest. Now in grade 12 we start by combining logs with those two formulas. So you've learned logs in the inverse chapter, and you used it a bit for sequence and series. So now they show you where it fits into financial maths. You use logs whenever you need to figure out what is n. Okay, so in any of these four formulas that you see on screen now, you can use logs to work out what is n. So you know the other two already from previous grades, but the annuities you're going to learn in this chapter in grade 12. Let's do a few sums, and then you will see where it fits in. Patrick deposits 30,000 Rand into a savings account. The interest rate is set at 12% per annum, compounded monthly. How long will it take for his finances to grow to 50,000? They are asking me how long. In financial math, that means work out what n is. So I would always suggest to my students, do your little formula. So first we need to figure out what is the formula. So a equals p, 1 plus I to the power n, because they told me it's compounded monthly. Okay, so what is a, what is p, what is I, and what is n? So I know I need to work out what n is. They told me this story starts with 30,000. So that would be p, the principal amount. Then the story ends with 50,000. So A, and that stands for the accrued amount, or I always say after interest. Okay, so now I can see is 12%. You can write this in any way that you like. 12% over 12, 12 over 100. I won't suggest that one because then you need to figure out what must I multiply with 12. So the best one that teachers and textbooks would advise is the decimal form. But that's up to you. Okay, so now I can fill in everything, and then I can work out what is n. So I know the 50,000 goes into A, the 30,000 goes into the place of P, 1 plus 0.12 over 12 to the power 12n. So remember, when it's compounded monthly, I need to divide I by 12, and I need to multiply n by 12. That's what you learned in grade 11. Step 1, I am going to divide by 30,000 on both sides. That gives me 5 over 3. Okay, I'm going to simplify this bracket, so just type in the bracket in your calculator, and you would see it's 1,01, and then to the power 12n. Okay, so now is where I'm going to introduce logs. With logs, the base stays the base, and the other two numbers swap around. So 12n goes on the left, and 5 over 3 goes on the right. I can then just type that in my calculator, and my calculator would tell me that is 51,33755. Okay, you will notice that the 12 is gone, so I'm going to divide the right-hand side by 12. Now, something that's extremely important, especially with finance chapter, when I'm in the middle of my sum, I'm not allowed to round off. You are going to make decimal mistakes if you round off too early. So just keep everything there and keep it on your calculator. So now if I type this in my calculator, it would tell me n is equal to 4,278 ... Just keep it on your calculator. Now, that is the answer to the question. How long will it take? 4,278 years. But your teacher would want you to write this into years and months. So I know this is 4 complete years. So therefore the answer is 4 years. But I need to figure out how many months this is. And how you do that is you subtract the full years. So I'm going to subtract 4, and then I'm going to multiply this by 12. Okay, when I type that in my calculator, this would be the answer. And then I always need to round up because they tell me how long will it take to reach 50,000. So if it's 3 months, then it didn't reach 50,000. So I'm always going to round up and say it was 4 years and 4 months before this reached 50,000. There we go. That is the answer, and that's how I use logs in finance. Let's do another one. The school buys a new bus for 1.5 million Rand. The value of this bus depreciates at 11% on the reducing balance method. How long will it take for the bus to be worth 800,000? First thing, the formula I'm going to use is the reducing balance formula. So A equals P, bracket 1 minus I to the power n. Okay, I'm just going to make my list. So A, they tell me it needs to reach 800,000. P, it started at 1.5 million, so I can fill that in there. I, they tell me is 11%, but you'll notice they don't tell me compounded in any way. So then you assume that it's annually. Okay, whenever they say reducing balance method, it's not simple interest. It must be compound, but it's not monthly or quarterly or anything else. So I'm just going to keep it 0.11. N is what I need to work out. So just going to fill in. So the story ends with 800,000, but the bus started at 1.5 million. 1, because it's reducing balance method, it's a minus I, so 0.11 to the power n. Step 1, I'm going to divide both sides by 1.5 million. That gives me 8 over 15. Then I'm just going to simplify the brackets, 0.89 to the power n. I need to work out n, so I'm going over into logs. So log, the base stays the base, and the others swap around. So n goes on the left, 8 over 15 goes on the right. I type that in my calculator, and my calculator will tell me the answer is 5,394, ... I know this is years. So now this question, because it is compounded annually, you can either say the answer is 6 years. When will this bus reach 800,000 or less? It would be after 6 years if you just go with the full compound. Or if we go into months and years, I can say this is 5 years. I'm going to subtract the 5, and I'm just going to take 0.394 times 12 to get it into months. And then I round up. So the answer is 5 years and 5 months. Your teacher will mark it correct if you leave it in months, years and months, sorry, or if you leave it in complete years, because they didn't specify clearly. Question C. So now we get to a very popular question. Somewhere in this year, I can almost guarantee you're going to encounter a question like this in one of your class tests, cycle test, or an exam. So how long does it take a certain sum of money to treble if the interest rate is 9% compounded quarterly? They're telling me the money is going to grow. So A equals P, 1 plus I to the power n. The only thing I know in this sum is that the interest rate is 0.09 over 4. I don't know where I'm starting. I don't know where I'm ending. But I do know that the money is going to triple. Okay, treble and triple, same thing. So you can choose your starting amount. So you can say it's 100 Rand and 300 Rand at the end, or 1,000 and 3,000. But many people would just go for, I'm going to leave this as a P, and that's just going to be 3P. And N is what I need to work out. So if I fill in, I'm going to say 3P is equal to P, 1 plus 0.09 over 4 to the power 4N. The reason it doesn't matter what you chose is because now I'm going to divide both sides by the starting amount. So this will only leave me with a 3. Does not matter what you chose, this must be a 3 in this step. I'm just going to simplify this bracket. That would be 409 over 400 to the power 4n. So why am I not doing that in a decimal and choosing fractions? To avoid rounding errors. So if it's a fraction, I don't need to worry about decimal places and whatever. I'm just keeping it as a fraction. So now I can go over into logs. So I'm going to say log, the big fraction is my base, so the base stays the base, and the others swap around. If I type that in the calculator, my calculator tells me n is equal to 49,37448, and I know I'm going to divide that by 4. If I type that in, I'm going to get n is equal to 12.34362 ... years. Remember, I need to convert this to years, and in this sum, we're working with quarters. So I know it's 12 full years. And then the sum I'm going to do on my calculator is I'm going to take the answer, 12,343. I'm going to minus the 12. So I'm just sitting with the 0,343 ... And I want this in quarters, so I'm going to multiply that by 4. If I multiply that by 4, I'm going to get 1.2 something. Always round up. So it was not just 1 quarter, it needs to be 2 quarters. And that's the answer to the question. How long will it take for the money to be triple its starting amount? 12 years and 2 quarters. Okay, guys, that was using logs in finance. Later in the chapter, we're going to use it with the new formulas as well. But I hope this made sense to just put this with all the finance you previously did. Let me know how it went and if we need to do more questions on these.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
JJ, man.